Hey guys, welcome back to BDO Facebook Live. As you know, I'm Monica, and today we have a very special guest with us. He is a father, he is a professor, a minister, a trainer, and an amazing mentor, Dr. Paul Phillips. Thank you for joining us. I feel like I need a round of applause after that, right?
I'll take it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited about this topic, your background, what type of doctor are you, and then your journey into where you are now.
Sure.
So let's just start from the beginning.
Okay, well, I'm a doctor of divinity, or some people say theology, and I've been that since 2015. That's what my doctorate is in. My background, born and raised in Chicago on the South Side. Went to Morgan Park High School. No? Okay. So I was raised there. My sisters went there. My mom went there. So we have a long history in that area of the city. Got a bachelor's degree in accounting from Roosevelt University, a master's degree from Loyola University in management and MIS, and then of course my doctorate. And 3 sisters. My mom raised myself and my 3 sisters by herself, which is kind of a huge part of my story, which I'll get into. I travel around the world. I do a lot of different speaking. I've been blessed to do a lot of different technical and motivational speaking in the United States as well as around the country, in Africa and in Europe. So I've been very blessed in that area.
Amazing. Okay, so you are from Chicago. I love that.
Yes.
And so what businesses are you in right now? What's going on right now?
So I have 2 different organizations.
Yes.
I have the Better Man Than Me Foundation, which I started over 8 years ago. We've served over 7,000 young men in the past 8 years. We do it through mentorship and scholarship. And then about 3 years ago, I started an organization called Dominate Productions, which is a for-profit organization. And I started that for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to provide funding for our mentoring and our scholarship programs. Yes. And then also, the name itself is one of my favorite words, dominate, and we do that. And many times when I speak on that very word to inspire men and women to dominate and to win in life.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, I teach at a couple of different universities and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about the nonprofit.
Okay.
Yes, please. How did that? Was that your idea?
That was
your idea. Okay, anything
credit.
inspire that idea?
Yeah, it was really just my background and how I was raised. Again, my mom raised us. My dad was kind of gone out of the picture by the time I was 4 years old. So one of the things my mom had the wisdom to do is she put us in a church that was very youth-oriented.
Okay.
So I'm a product of mentorship. And I was blessed to be around men, African-American men in the community that were educated, godly men, and very involved in the community.
You need that.
Yeah. And I was such a poor kid and had a lot of challenges. But one of the things I wanted to do, I've always said when I was a kid, that when I become an adult, I was going to give back in the same manner.
Okay.
Yeah. So it took me a while. I didn't start this until about 8 years ago. But that's the reason why I started. I want to mentor young men. I think mentorship is vital and important to our community.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is a must-have.
It is.
Yeah. So that was kind of the reason why I started the program. So.
Of course. And what type of things are in the program?
Oh, we do a whole lot of different stuff.
And the age range as well. Let's talk about that.
So we started by mentoring 12. On paper, it was 12 to 22-year-olds.
Okay.
But to be honest, over the past 8 years, we've mentored young men as young as 6 years old.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's needed. It almost starts that way.
Yeah.
Like they're still almost being molded.
Absolutely.
So they have,
And I'll be honest with you, when I started the organization, I was talking to my board, and they were like, Paul, we need to go younger. We need to go younger. I'm like, absolutely not. I don't want to deal with the little kids.
Yeah. But a hassle, but it's needed.
And for the reasons you stated, we got to start young. There's a quote, and I probably won't get it right, but there's a quote that said it's easier to build men rather than to repair broken men. Exactly. I said it wrong. Yeah. I know I said it wrong, but you get the point.
No, we give it to you. No, exactly. It's much easier to build them up as opposed to
to the repair after all the damage, right?
Yeah,
so we mentor young men as young as 6 years old, and mainly that's in the Brownsville area. Every year in the summertime, we do a program there, and it's for the little kids. And then we mentor men as old as 35 years old. And usually, of course, that's different mentorship. That's usually about career, relationships, and what have you.
Yeah.
But our core group are around the teenage years,
Yeah.
and they're in the high school age range.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so, are you there every day interacting with the kids? Like, how does that go?
Oh, I wish. So a couple different things. We mentioned a couple of different ways. One, we do weekly mentorship. So we're in the schools, and we've done mentorship programs for over 20 schools. And currently we're in a school on the south side of Chicago, weekly basis on a Friday morning, first thing in the morning. We're there with my group, and we talk about a lot of different things. And actually that group is a big, small one. They're 6th through 8th grade. So we're there, and we talk mainly about character building topics.
Nice.
Meaning conflict resolution, respect for authority, and things of that nature. And of course, with our guys, we got to throw some sports in there.
Oh yeah, of course.
We got to throw some sports,
right?
which works for us, because then we can talk about basketball and football, and who's the best team, who's the best player of all. Is it LeBron or is it Michael Jordan? I think it's
always
Michael Jordan.
It's always the big debate, right?
But the younger boys they like
that's their
LeBron.
time,
right? So we take about 10 minutes to argue about that. But it fits with us because we get the chance to talk about good sportsmanship and leadership and teamwork
together.
Tie it in. Yeah.
And I'm sure with that, the topic of sports also kind of gets them to open up and not feel so you're trying to, like teach me or do all that. Like they kind of just open up and forget that, hey, you're here to actually teach me something. And then looking at you like, we're friends.
And I'm glad you said that, because we also, for 5 or 6 years, we had our own mentoring program that we did on a monthly basis. And because I'm a college professor, I started out by teaching leadership classes, and I rented this space, and I created a syllabus, and we advertised all over the city, and I brought some of my college professors in, and we got food. We got about 8 boys to come. And they were bored to death.
Yeah.
So
especially like, boys too. So I can only imagine.
So I'm like, how do we fix this? Right. So we actually started a monthly basketball and mentoring, and we went from having 8 boys to 52 boys.
It's more interactive.
Oh,
they love it. Yeah.
So and we did basketball, but then what we did, we ran a mini camp, if you will. But then at halftime, we brought in a halftime speaker, and I'm like, I got him. I have a captain. Sit down, get you a snack, get you some water, and then that's what we did our mentoring.
Got it.
And it worked perfectly. We did that for over 6 years, and we still do it periodically throughout the year.
Of course. And so are there any challenges that come up, especially like with young boys? Is there any pushback that, I don't want to do this isn't for me? I'm sure.
All the time.
Right?
And you hit it on the head. As men, most of the time we don't realize we need help. Especially at that young age, right? We got all this testosterone going and this energy going.
I'm good. Yeah.
Exactly. But so that's the challenge we have. So that's why when I speak and I bring other speakers in, I'm very strategic. I mean, I try to get men that look like the boys that we're mentoring, and 99% of our young men are African American. So I try to get successful, articulate African American men in to come and speak. And we've had doctors and lawyers and police officers and ministers and entrepreneurs. Right? And one of the things I require our mentors to do, our speakers to do, is to be transparent.
Yeah.
Because a lot of time you'll see a man like myself, oh, he's successful, right? And the young men tend to think, well, he's different than I am.
He came from, he was probably high class. Like, he's not like me. I can't connect with him.
Exactly.
There's no point.
He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and actually I was born with government cheese in my mouth.
Right. That's not always the case, but things can change.
Exactly. So I encourage our speakers to be honest and open about their trials and their tribulations and their challenges growing up, and how did they get from where they were to where they are today. And especially, what are some of the mistakes that they made?
Yes.
Because no one's perfect. And it's been a great formula. It's worked out really well.
It seems like a very realistic formula, like you said, in the process, and just to get everyone to be as transparent as possible.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you get great responses from the boys. Right?
I'm so blessed when one of the boys walk up to me and say, "Man, Dr. P, you really touched me," or that speaker you brought in.
Warms your heart.
Oh my God! It's like I always say this. It's like food for my soul because it makes it all worth it.
I love that. I love that you're impacting so many lives, and it's needed. So obviously the program is not just to help raise the boys, right, and to fix them if they're already adults and all of that, but what things can parents do as well?
Yeah.
If it's just a single mom or just whoever is in the household.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because that's one of our challenges as well.
Yeah.
I've been doing mentoring for 30 years, even before I started the program. And if you study mentorship, one of the keys to successful mentoring is that the mentee has to be engaged and locked in. Right? It is incumbent upon the mentee to reach out and to really try to establish that relationship with the mentor. Because the mentor is usually someone that's busy and successful and what have you. So you need a young man that's really hungry and that's in need. I say that to say we really need the parent to encourage that relationship. And I've had success and I've had some situations that wasn't successful because the parent wasn't committed to getting the child, the son, to where he needed to be on a consistent basis. And a lot of times it didn't
You're
work.
like working against you almost.
Absolutely.
When everyone should just be on the same team.
And when I start the mentoring program, especially if we're doing one-on-one mentoring, I'm sitting down with the parent, and unfortunately it's usually a single mom or a grandmom, and I'm sitting down because they've reached out to us, and I said, let's talk about your goals and your desires for this mentee-mentor relationship with your son. And then we sit down and we talk with the young man. What are your goals? Let's carve out and identify the objectives for this relationship. And then we're going to sit and we're going to come up with a schedule. Is it once a week? Is it every 2 weeks? When is it? And then we're going to talk about how we're going to interact. And a lot of times we take the kids to basketball games. I've taken young men to boxing and whatever, just to have some fun in there.
Yeah.
But I also tell the parent, I said, look, this is a confidential relationship. Meaning I'm not going to share everything with you because we're going to do man talk.
Right.
And
you can't be a part of mine.
You can't be a part of because I want the young man to have confidence and to be able to trust me and tell me anything. And the only time I'll report back to the mother or the grandmother is when I feel like there's danger involved and the child is going to hurt himself or something. Yeah.
No, I love that. Love it. Let's talk about the importance of leadership.
Yeah. It's so important in our community. It's so important. I recall when Obama first became president, one of the things you saw all on social media is President Obama needs to come back. He needs to come back and fix Chicago because he's from Chicago. And I really took issue with that because I'm like, one, he's the leader of the free world. He's busy. And I used to post on Facebook all the time, President Obama doesn't need to come back. The men need to come back to their families and to their communities. Our communities require leadership. And men, and I hope that you guys don't take this in a sexist way, but all of us, not just men, but all of us will be in a leadership position at some point in our lives, right? So, but I often have said that if the men in our community took a leadership role, our community will change overnight.
Oh, of course.
Even if the women didn't do a thing.
No,
even
I
if
believe
they stayed
that.
the same.
No, that's true.
Right. So leadership in our community is so important in the home, in the church, and then also in whatever capacity that there is. And leadership means being transparent, like I said, and leading by example. Here's where I'm at, but here are some of the challenges that I faced and how I overcame them when I faced them. Here's some of the mistakes I made, and don't make these same mistakes. Let's talk about it, right? So leadership in that aspect. And my organization, the Better Man Than Me Foundation, is a grassroots organization, which means we're on the ground, we're in the front lines. But I also believe there needs to be leadership at every level, at the government level, ground level, every level. So that's what I mean by leadership. It's so lacking in so many different areas. We mentor a lot, like I said, in over 20 different schools, and believe it or not, most of the schools where we've had mentoring programs in the city have been led by, meaning the principal and the assistant principal was an African American woman. And then I look around, most of the teachers have been African American women. And thank God for the black woman. My mom, black woman, thank God for the black woman, because you guys do what you got to do to make it happen.
Get it done.
Yes, right. But think about the impact on a young black boy when all he sees at home and at school is an African American woman. One, it sends, in my opinion, it sends the message to him that the black woman has to take the responsibility.
Has to do everything.
Has to do everything. And I can just coast along.
Right, and that's just how it is, and that's fine.
That's the way it is. And this is unconsciously the message that we're sending young men. And we got to change the narrative.
Yeah.
We got to change it. So that's what I mean by leadership. I didn't mean to preach to you.
No, I loved it. It hit me. I love it. I love it.
You didn't even say amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen. I was like, yes.
So yeah, it's so important. You know, and when I speak all over. That's one of my favorite topics. We talk about leadership in the community, business leadership, and what have you. There's so many different levels to that. Yeah.
And so along with leadership, obviously also comes, you mentioned, leadership in the community, like giving back to the community as well, and caring about your community and taking care of your community.
Yes. When I say character building, one of the things we teach the young man is you as a man must be responsible for your community. Be responsible for yourself, your family, and your community, which means you're going to have to sacrifice some money, time, and energy. Which means you don't only be a father to your son, but you may have to be a father figure to the boys on your block.
To his friend, right? To the other friends, all the friends. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's going to cost you some time, some money, and energy. But it's not something that. Not only is it worth it, it is a requirement for our community. I often say to people that nobody is coming to save us.
I was just going to say, no one will have our back the way we will have each other's back, honestly.
Stop calling for President Obama and Trump and what have you.
We
have to save ourselves.
Yes.
And the only way we're going to do that is we reach beyond us four and no more, just me and my wife. And that's what it is, and my kids, right? That's one of the struggles.
It's almost like a selfish, which isn't horrible. Like, I understand it, but if everyone just had that mindset, like you said, it's not just you and your 4 people in your household, but if we all had that mindset of taking care of each other, so many things would change.
And I don't say that in a judgmental way, because I've been there. You know, when I was my kids were little and I was climbing the corporate ladder, I've always given to the community, but I was very busy. But now that my kids are adults, I give a lot more because I see the need. And that's one of the challenges that we have. I'll be honest with you, with the Better Man Than Me Foundation, most, not all, but most of our support come from African American women. It's so hard. And again, I'm reaching out to successful black men. It's so hard to get them, not because they're not passionate, but because they're busy.
Yeah.
They're busy. So I don't say it in a judgmental way. I say it as a call to action.
Yeah.
That we got to make a change.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And so, can we also talk about the impact of the fatherlessness of the young man?
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I'll be transparent. You know, like I said, my dad was gone when I was 4. And to add insult to injury, I was raised by my mom, her mom, my aunt, and then my 3 sisters.
So all the women.
All
were raised.
I was surrounded by females, right? And
Did you have any type of male figure
in my church? Thank God, in my church. Thank God, you know, I had. But then they had their families, their careers, right?
Yeah.
And I am a firm believer that a young boy needs his dad in his home on a daily basis, if at all possible. Now, sometimes that's difficult to do, but hey, Dad, if you can't be in a home, you need to be down the block.
Yeah.
Or across the street.
At least just see me like every other day, every day, as much as you can. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
It does make a difference. And I tell older men, like I said, I mentored men as old as 35. One of the things I always tell them is your presence is more important than anything.
Yeah.
I had a mentee who was 33 years old, had 6 felonies, and couldn't get a job. Go figure, right? Couldn't get a job. But he also had 6 kids. And he was just struggling. And I would say, look, don't run. Don't run, because his kids were becoming teenagers and they wanted Jordans and iPhones, and he was
overwhelming.
It was very overwhelming to him.
So much pressure.
Right, and he couldn't provide that because he didn't have employment.
It's a pride thing as well.
Exactly.
You want to provide, they're asking for things.
Yeah. I said, don't run. I said, I get that. I said, but more important than those Jordans and that iPhone is your presence.
Yes.
Be there. be there.
That's all we really need is that. It's just,
what you really need is the presence of my dad in the home, right?
Yeah.
So it's so important. And I say this, here's the transparency part. I was telling somebody else this. For me, I'm 53 years old. I didn't become comfortable with sitting in a group of men, just men, until I was 40 years old.
A lot of men feel that way, though.
Really?
I've heard that multiple times. Yeah.
Well,
It's, and I don't know why. Okay.
Well, for me, it was stressful for me because one, again, I didn't have any brothers around, and I didn't have my dad around, right? So that's my point. Is fatherlessness has a huge impact on men when they grow up, on their competitiveness, on how they relate to women.
Yes.
A man needs to see his father show, even if they're not in a committed relationship anymore, how do I treat the mother of my kids?
Lead by example, right?
Right, and not just in the good times, but how do I work through conflict with a woman or the mother of my children?
Right.
And it's not something that we grow up knowing. We have to see it.
That makes sense, because if they don't see it in the household, they're seeing it in other ways, and maybe negative ways.
Absolutely.
Through like TV, movies, music, all of that. So then that's
Absolutely.
all they know.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we really blame them? They were never taught.
Absolutely.
So
And
that
the
makes
last
sense.
reason why I think fatherlessness is so impactful is because we talk about who you are. That's one of the things we teach. And a man needs to be able to tell his son who he is. I'm the king, you're the prince.
Right.
And he needs to know that my dad accepts me, he values me, and I'm important to him. And in my opinion, that is the most important thing a father can do, is teach his son who he is as a man.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to go to the game or to
Right.
a woman or to the police officer or to rap music or to social media to define who he is
Right.
as a man.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. That made me think of my dad.
Yeah.
Almost teared up. Shout out to you, Dad. You were amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We were talking about this before.
Yes,
I appreciate
absolutely.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you see any similarities from the young men? And you said as old as 30, 40. Like, do you see any similarities in the program? And it's like, wow, like like you see it.
Yeah.
In both
Well,
papers.
I'll tell you the difference that I see.
Okay, the difference.
And I'm sorry, I just flipped your whole question.
you answer whatever question you want to answer.
The difference that I see with millennials, you guys are a whole other breed.
So different.
From another, not country, another planet.
Yeah, I wouldn't say in good ways, but okay.
But I love you guys because you're so creative and you're so passionate, and you're not going to be told what to do. If you're going to mentor a millennial, you better come correct.
Right.
You better come correct, and it's taught me, right. Fortunately, I'm pretty. I got my stuff together, but you better come correct with millennial. With older guys, just say this. Over 30, they're more open to your suggestions and what have you. But when millennials, you better prove that you know what you're talking about.
We already know the answer. We're just trying to get you to
Absolutely. And guess what? You don't.
Right.
You don't know the answer. So you have to. If you're going to mentor millennials, you have to be patient.
Yeah.
And that's a criticism and I promote you for that as well. You have your own mind.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're passionate about the community. You don't mind protesting. You don't mind.
Right. We're big on that.
You're taking no foolishness. And I love you guys. So you have so much energy. And then you're not afraid to take risks. For me, I always had a job. I just started these organizations in my 40s. But I know so many millennials that's willing to go out there and to be an entrepreneur, and I love that, right? And you're willing to take risks. You're willing to starve a little bit and eat over JoJo's house and sleep on Marianne's floor or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And I love that because my age group, we didn't do that. We don't have a job. When we go somewhere, we're gonna have bus fare because we
Right.
don't know how we're gonna
Stability,
get home.
right.
That's the word, stability.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between the different age groups.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Are there any similarities?
Are there any similarities? Again, the similarities is what I mentioned earlier. Men,
Yeah.
we don't know we need help.
Okay, so that's just across the board. All
That's
age
across
groups.
the
That's
board.
just
Until we're about 40 years old,
Yeah.
right? And everybody needs help.
Yeah.
Especially the brothers.
Right. Oh,
we
yeah.
need help. So I think one of the things is we need to recognize as men, we don't know everything. And it's not a criticism. I was the same way. It's that testosterone swirling around in our heads. We're go, which is a great thing. But I think we need to slow down as men and males and say, whoa, okay, let me close my mouth and open my ears and learn something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And this is overall, again, across the board, men are just under so much pressure
Absolutely.
from every aspect, right?
Absolutely.
Can you talk about
Yeah.
just about the pressures in general
well,
in society and in community?
Yeah,
family,
one of the
all?
pressures that I see a lot is just to be men, right? And what I mean by that is we're put in a box. You know, here's what you have to do, and if you don't do this, you're not a man. And people love to question you as a man, right? And that's pressure. 80% of the suicides that take place, I don't know if you know this, are among men.
Really?
Because
80%?
80% are men that commit suicide because, one, we can't cry, we can't
I
be
hate that.
right.
I hate it.
You can't be too emotional, you can't be too sensitive, you
Yeah.
can't express
You
yourself.
can't talk about your feelings.
Right.
Yeah, but
You gotta-
everyone needs that.
Yeah,
Like,
and-
why not? I don't understand. Why not?
Especially in the African American community. I call it toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't dress this way, talk like this, if you don't like sports, and if you don't respond to women like this, if you don't do all these things, then your manhood is questioned.
Yeah.
And that's huge pressure because God created us all differently.
But where did that come from? Like, where did that pressure, when did it even start?
Oh man, yeah, the only answer
Or
that I
just so
have,
far back, we don't even know where you started.
it probably comes from slavery. A lot of what we're doing, and I don't want to come across as judgmental because the black man is an amazing being. We are amazing, but we have so much pressure, and a lot of things that we're dealing with now comes from that whole slavery thing, which wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
It just
No,
really
wasn't
right.
long ago at all.
Right. And we were shipped off, and we were, you know the history, and we were shipped to this plantation and make babies here, and shipped to this plantation, make babies here, and then when we didn't comply, we were sodomized and beat and killed and whipped and what have you. And all of that stuff, we're still trying to deal with it. I bring that up because it's a reality, but I also don't want us to use it as a crutch.
Yes.
We have a responsibility, African American men, to man up and to lead our community. Because again, be better
Yeah.
every day. None of us are perfect. I'm so far from perfect, it's ridiculous. But every day I get up and say, how can I be better, and how can I lead as an example? Because I know that I have mentees, I have nephews, I have daughters, and other people watching me.
I like that you said that waking up, being intentional.
Every day.
That, if everyone just did that, I'm sure that there would be a huge shift in general.
It sounds so nice.
Right.
That's a challenge.
It is.
Because when
It's
you
hard
wake
to
up,
do
you got bills, you got relationship problems, you got to get to work, and
you already start thinking of everything you have to do, and it's almost like I can't even try to.
Yeah, nobody wakes up, I'm going to be intentional today.
Right.
I'm going to go to the gym and
Much
eat my
easier said than
vegetables.
done.
Right. That boom. Exactly.
Of course.
But you got to do it. Because what doesn't challenge us doesn't change us.
Love that. Doesn't challenge us.
Yeah, I didn't.
I
can't take
that wasn't
credit.
yours.
That wasn't mine.
I was going to give you all the credit for that one too.
I don't know who said it, but I say it all the time. What doesn't challenge us doesn't change us. It doesn't.
It doesn't, for sure. And so let's talk about the importance of education, informal and formal as well.
I've kind of changed my views recently on this because I went to school, and one of the reasons why I was a poor kid, and I decided then when I was about 18 years old, I'm like, I got to change the dynamic. I got to change something. So my key to success was education. So I went to college, and then I told I had two daughters, Ever since they've been in this world, you're going to college, you're going to college, going to college. And I think it's so important. It's one key to success. But I'm learning that formal education is great, but it's also expensive. And it's just one perspective and one avenue to success. I think that informal education is also extremely important because there's a lot of things that they just don't teach you in college.
Honestly, yeah.
Right. I have an accounting degree, but I never sat through a personal financial management class.
Right. But those, you would think that those would be the classes that they were teaching you in school, that you can actually use in real life.
Absolutely.
Science is great and all, but I would love to know how to do my own taxes and savings and retirement. That's what I'm trying to learn now. And I'm like, but I went to school. How did I not know this?
Absolutely. Interviewing. We talk about interviewing skills all the time. There's no interviewing class that I know of, right? How do you
marketing yourself.
Absolutely. Personal brand management. Yes. It's so important. So that's what I mean by informal education. And not just that, but you can make a great living if you go get a trade. So if college is not for you, I love it. I teach college. I went through college, but if it's not for you, there are other avenues to be successful. I know men that are contractors and that are plumbers that make great money. Yeah. Right. So there are other avenues to success.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Do we have any online questions? I'm sure we do. Oh, I forgot about that.
Sure. How do you find mentorship organizations or seek out a mentor?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on where you are in life. If you're looking for a mentorship for your son, there's so many that are out there. Social media is a great place to start. That's a great tool. I have a love-hate relationship with social media.
Yeah, me too.
But there's and even in the city of Chicago, there are so many great organizations. Of course, I love mine. I'm biased to mine.
Right.
But mine is not the only one. I would say we'll start with social media. Another way is to talk with your pastor at the church, because a lot of times they're plugged into different programs as well. If you're talking about a career mentorship, I would say seek out your boss and your superiors on your job. So there's a lot of different ways. Google, because there's so many different programs in the city of Chicago and outside.
What makes a good mentor? What should one be looking for? Say, hey, I want that person to mentor me.
I think one of the main things you want to do is you want to look for a mentor that's doing or at a place where you want to be.
Okay.
Right? So what do you aspire to be, especially if he or she are working in a career or in a field or is doing something that you aspire to do? That's one of the things you should look for. And then look for someone that looks like you, right? That understands your challenges, where you've been. Right, exactly. That you can relate to. I think that's the main thing. But then I also think that people need many different types of mentors. Okay. Maybe like a personal mentor that's helping you with your relationship, but then in a career one. Yeah. Absolutely. Don't just stop at one mentor.
How does one ask for someone to be their mentor? Is there a kind of a template that you would maybe say?
Yep. I tell my daughters this all the time. Here it is, and it's not what you think it is.
Okay.
Hey, can I take you for a burger?
A burger? We'd be no, I'm vegan. A veggie burger, then.
Impossible Burgers at Burger King. That's a vegan burger. No, what I mean by that is usually a young mentee doesn't have a lot of money, right? But for me, if a young man comes up to me and says, hey, Dr. P, I want you to be my mentor. Can I take you to go grab something to eat?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I can't afford.
Everyone loves food.
I love food. I can't afford Meatball and Ash, but I can afford McDonald's, right? Or can I meet you at your office? In other words, I would say, look, I really respect you, and I really would like for you to be my mentor for these reasons.
Okay.
Right.
List the reasons.
List your reasons and list the time frame, because it shows to that mentor that you are a critical thinker. And here are the things I want to accomplish over the next year. Can you help me with these things?
I like that.
Yeah.
I might use that. I've been looking for a mentor, so I like this. Okay. Do you have any other online questions?
Sure. What advice do you have for parents whose children aren't in diverse school settings and who lack a support system of people who look like them?
Ooh, that's
Wow.
good.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I'm glad you asked, because my daughter's within that situation. Two African
I was too.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the only
Yeah.
in the class.
And first thing I'll say before I answer the question is not a bad thing, because the world is not just white or black or what have you. And your child is learning how to interact with someone from a different ethnicity. So that's not a bad thing. But I will also say that it's important to connect your child with someone that looks like him or her or what have you.
Especially men. Right?
Yes, especially men.
I would think so. Okay.
And what we did, the mother of my child and I, what we did was the church. So we lived way out in Lake Zurich, and my kids was growing up surrounded by Caucasian people, right? But one of the things we did was every Sunday we was at that black church.
Right.
The black church is an amazing institution, right? And they were able to connect with our culture through the church. So I would recommend that you get your child, not send them, take them to a culturally sensitive church. And then another thing we did is we stayed connected with our family, which was a challenge because we were way in the northwest suburbs, and our family were in the city. But believe you me, weekends, you know, my kids were able to connect with our family. That's important. The church and family.
Yeah, I like what you said too about the church. You said when you were growing up that your church had a great youth program.
Yes.
Because I know a lot when you're younger, nothing is sinking in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like if you're sitting around with the adults,
Yeah.
you may be asleep, you might be on your mom's phone playing games.
Exactly.
That's important to have a great youth program.
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe
wonderful.
research that as well. With
Exactly.
churches.
Good one.
Yeah.
That's a very good one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any other online questions? Of course.
How can people get involved with Better Man Than Me?
Great question. Well,
Takers.
yeah, you go on our website, shoot us an email. You know, we'll definitely respond because we're always looking for volunteers, especially men, to come out and speak. But we also like to work with women as well. A couple of different reasons why. It's because the young man needs to understand the female perspective.
Of course.
So sometimes we bring in females to be our speakers, and then also we always ask for organizations, why don't you mentor young women? Right. So what we do is we're getting there, but we partner a lot with different women and different female organizations to fulfill that need when asked.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome. Okay. So my last question would be, what is the importance of communication and interpersonal skills
Yeah,
for these young men?
oh, that's
or just
so
men in
important.
general, because
Yeah.
definitely not just young, there's some older men as well.
I'm huge on interpersonal skills and communication. I'm a firm believer that one of the reasons why Obama became president, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why, is because he had excellent communication skills.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a firm believer.
Anyone and
Absolutely,
everyone.
yeah.
Yes.
Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that one of the reasons why she's one of the most successful black women in the world, not the only reason, is because she has excellent communication skills. JFK, you weren't around at the time. I was a baby. Was I a baby? I think it was a baby, yeah. President, excellent communication skills. If you are going to be successful in this world, you're going to need to be able to communicate. And that's one of the struggles, not just and I've been in the business world for a long time, this is not just a problem in the African American community. I do a lot of research, and one of the things jobs are finding is we bring people in, college educated people just graduated from college that have poor communication skills, poor verbal and writing skills. And if you want to distinguish yourself in the business world, in the community, you will improve your communication skills. The reason why you have this job today is because of your communication skills.
Yeah.
So, and then interpersonal skills. I'll give you a short story. We have helped young men get jobs. And those young men sometimes can't keep those jobs because they have poor interpersonal skills. They don't work well with others.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
That is so huge, right?
Yeah.
Why is that important? Because you're going to meet people that think differently, that come from different backgrounds. I don't care if it's another black person. They weren't raised in the same home that you were raised in.
Yeah.
They have different values. And what do you do when you're working with someone on a daily basis that has a very different perspective and approach things differently than you. There's more than one way to do things.
Yeah.
You're going to have interpersonal skills to be able to communicate, to resolve conflict, to lead, to manage, and all those things.
Definitely.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about when, and I've been trying to think of the phrase, I'm sure you can tell me, Jasmine, as well. What is the phrase like when it's almost like you put on a different mask, a different voice?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like become a different person when you go
Code
out.
switching.
Code switching, yes, that's it. Do you guys talk about that? Do you encourage that, or?
We do talk about it, and yes, we do encourage it.
Okay.
I think it was Dion Cole. I think that's
Yes, I just watched that
Did
too.
you see it?
I'm amazing at code switching. Just saying.
And I don't hopefully this doesn't get me in trouble. But I think it was him that says white people could be white people all day long, every day, all day.
Right.
But black people can't do that. We can't be black every day, all day.
No.
Right. What he was saying, what I think he was saying, was we have to be able to switch it up
Yeah.
a little bit, right?
The lingo, like you can't say one thing, they're going to think you mean something completely different.
Right, exactly. So, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we have to be able to switch it up, to change things in order to interact again, because we don't live in just a black world, right?
Definitely.
So you have to be able to switch things up.
It's a great skill to have, for sure.
You got to have, and I'll say this again. You millennials, you guys struggle with that. You guys call it being fake.
Oh yeah.
That I did. You notice I did my hair. That's what the young girls
Yes.
do. I ain't gonna be fake.
No, that's true.
And
What is the skill that's definitely you need to have?
It's not being
You can't
fake.
act
It's
the
being
same
strategic.
Away your around your friends versus like the
Yeah.
CEO of the company. You can't talk to them
Exactly.
the same way. You should be able to separate that.
Period. It's called being strategic. If you want that job, you got to get in there, and then you might be able to relax.
Right, once you're already in, but let's get in first.
Let's get in the door and change things once you get in.
Yes, I love it. Do we have any other online questions? We do not. Okay, let's say the website and where we can find you one more time.
Absolutely. www.bettermanthanme.org, or you can go to dominateproductions.org and shoot us an email. Or you can send me an email, Dr. Paul Phillips, BMTM, @gmail.org.
Okay.
I forgot my own email.
It's okay. Oh my gosh, Dr. Phillips, thank you so much for joining us. We learned so much. You guys, please like, share this video. We all need to be talking about this. We all need great programs just like yours. Thank you so much. And you guys, don't forget, we have our luxury Caribbean cruise next year. You're invited. You and your family. Please, yes. Next year, April, we're cruising through the Caribbean. It's going to be amazing. Don't forget to check that out as well. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Bye.